All right, let's talk about Andrew Yang and the Yang Gang. A lot of stuff going on in the 2020 elections. Joe Biden, he apparently over the weekend accidentally announced that he was running for president, and then he was like, "Oh wait, no, I'm not announcing just yet." So we're going to be on the lookout for that. Also, there are some reports that Stacey Abrams, if you remember, she ran for governor of Georgia. She also gave the State of the Union Democrat response. She gave that address, which was a really good address. She's reportedly potentially going to run for president. Also, Andrew Gillum, there's some rumors that he might be running for president. So, I mean, it's just a lot of people running for president. But let's look at Andrew Yang. Some of the smears against this guy. He's also being smeared like many of those that have radical ideas of helping people. You know, you're not allowed to have those kind of ideas in this election. Otherwise, you get smeared. So some people are saying, oh, you know, he's got all these alt-right fanboys that are crushing on this Democratic presidential candidate. This was from LA Mag, saying a surprising new contender for the Democratic nomination has inadvertently become a favorite among former Trump supporter, white nationalists, and alt-right internet forum dwellers. This is what Stephen Colbert did to Tulsi Gabbard when he says, what do you make of all these white nationalists who like you? Right? The David Dukes of the world. What do you make of this? Well, they're doing the same thing to Andrew Yang. They're like, oh, look, he's the fanboy of all these alt-right. Andrew Yang, a startup entrepreneur, has struggled against obscurity and abysmal polling numbers for most of the campaign because nobody knows who Andrew Yang is. You know, he's not a politician. He's a complete underdog in the race for president. And surprisingly, actually, he's doing really well. He's, despite this smear article, he's reached his quota of the 65,000 needed donations. He's met that to make the debate stage. He's polling at, I believe, 1% or more, which is what you need to make the debate stage. So it's looking like he might actually make it. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was also on The Breakfast Club. So he's seen some spikes from being on these shows. And he's got a really interesting platform, which we're going to go over here in just a minute. But so it says that following a February appearance on the hugely popular podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, his business-heavy, technocratic platform caught the interest of darker corners of the internet, the largely male, young, and socially conservative meme makers of 4chan and certain threads on Reddit. And lo, the Yang Gang was born. Yeah, because, you know, all of these white supremacists, you know, Andrew Yang, why would they like this guy? I mean, clearly he must be one of them. I mean, you're going to accuse this Asian guy of being what? Part of a white supremacist underground group? Okay. Yang has made his support of universal basic income the keystone of his campaign, promising a free dividend of $12,000 a year for all American adults in an effort to combat AI-driven unemployment. But even as he runs as a Democrat and backs a bevy of Democratic policies, white supremacists have glommed onto certain statements and appearances as evidence of ideological sympathy with them. Right, because Andrew Yang is a white supremacist. Give me a break, you guys. Give me a break. You keep saying this about the people, interestingly, the people of color in the campaign. Andrew Yang, who's Asian, and Tulsi Gabbard, who's mixed race. Like, what the hell, guys? Get it together. Find something else to smear them on. Even as Yang has unequivocally denounced the toxic support, so has Tulsi Gabbard, notable white supremacists like Richard Spencer, Faith Goldy, and Nick Fuentes have all still tweeted about him. Yang, in case it bears mentioning, is not white. Oh, yeah. They put that in parentheses. Yang, in case it bears mentioning, is not white. So let's take a look at his platform. Why do the alt-right like Andrew Yang? Here's at least this article from NBC News. They didn't do the smear job that LA Mag did. They say, meet Andrew Yang, a fairly normal guy running for president on a radical platform. The 2020 Democratic candidate who's going viral with his innovative ideas hopes to lure Trump voters who share his view that America is hurting. He wants to give citizens free money to combat the coming onslaught of automation, help America's struggling malls, and institute a digital social credit currency system. So I do want to say that when they say he wants to give out free money, no, it's called our tax dollars being circulated back to us. It's not free. We gave it to you. We just want it back. You know, we don't want you to spend it on all those wars, the war machine. We want our money back. So let's take a look at Andrew Yang's website, yang2020.com. let's take a look at some of his policies. So his big campaign promise that he's running on is universal basic income, which is everybody gets $1,000 a month. Every American will get $1,000 a month. That's it. Now, obviously, if you're extremely wealthy, $1,000 a month, like if you're Oprah Winfrey, it won't matter to you. But if you're really, really poor, $1,000 a month could be a life changer. And that's kind of Andrew's ideas. He's saying this is going to be a game changer for people at the lowest level. At the people at the top, it's not going to matter to them that much. People at the very bottom, it's going to be an absolute game changer for them. And his biggest issue that he's concerned about is automation, AI, which he's got every reason to be afraid of this. There are some new reports that have come out saying that deep learning for AI would actually be worth 35 Amazons. That's how valuable this new how valuable AI is, because every company in the world is going to want to jump on the AI bandwagon and eliminate its workforce and essentially have robots do the job. So it is definitely a concern when you see reports like that of these investors going hog wild over AI. So Andrew says this is going to be a problem. People are going to be replaced by robots, and it's going to leave people destitute. And we need to have conversations now, and we need to implement programs now to combat this. So thus what's born is universal basic income. Now imagine if you were given $1,000 and you're homeless. That is going to be a game changer for you. You're going to be able to eat. You might be able to get some basic shelter. You'll be able to get some basic clothing. I mean, this would be a game changer. If you're really, really poor, $1,000 a month could be childcare for you. $1,000 a month could be college education. $1,000 a month could potentially solve a lot of problems. So I think it's an interesting policy to think about. I really am glad he's having this conversation. I'm glad he's in the race, because I do think people need to be more aware of this. I do think that AI is a real problem, and I've been saying that for a long time. So I'm glad somebody else is saying it and making some waves. So let's take a look at some of his policies. He has one of the most comprehensive campaigns you've ever seen in your life. When you go to his website, his platform is, comprehensive. Take a look at this. This is, I don't even know how many are on this. It looks like 100 different things. He's got, let's just kind of click on some of these and see what he's got. Okay, the American Mall Act. So by the way, he is for some of the basic stuff. Let's get that out of the way. Medicare for all, he's for it. Universal basic income, he's for that. He says human-centered capitalism. This one's an interesting idea. This is capitalism as an economic system has led to unparalleled innovation and improvement in the human condition. Many consider it to have won the war of ideas against socialism, but that simplistic view ignores that there is no such thing as a pure capitalist system, and our current version of institutional capitalism and corporatism is a relatively recent development. Our current emphasis on corporate profits isn't working for the vast majority of Americans. This will only be made worse by the development of automation, technology, and AI. We need to move to a new form of capitalism, human capitalism, that's geared towards maximizing human well-being and fulfillment. The central tenets of human capitalism are: 1, humans are more important than money. 2, the unit of a human capitalism economy is each person, not each dollar. And 3, markets exist to serve our common goals and values. So he actually has some ideas, like you can actually do service projects and gain some money from the government for doing service. So like if you as a human go and do humanistic things, then you could potentially get paid. At least that's what I'm understanding from the platform. But let's look at some of his other stuff here. What is the American Mall Act? Malls used to be the hub for socialization and commerce in many American communities. They were where families would go shopping for school supplies before grabbing dinner and catching a movie. Teens would have their first jobs working retail there and spend their Friday nights with friends. A local mall was an economic boon. As e-commerce takes over a large share of the retail market, many malls are closing down. 300 malls will close in the next 4 years, and hundreds more will struggle. The windows shuttered, the doors locked, the buildings abandoned. This sends a negative signal that the economy of the area is suffering. It also attracts criminal elements who can squat in and vandalize these empty buildings without much interest from local law enforcement. These giant spaces need to be revitalized in order to spur investment in the local economy and combat the suburban blight associated with closing of a mall. So his goal is find new uses for closed malls. So as president, I will sponsor the American Mall Act, securing a $6 billion fund to help struggling malls attract businesses, school organizations, and entrepreneurs to find new uses for the building and commercial spaces. I never thought about using them for schools and organizations. That's interesting. I mean, they're huge buildings. Let's click on something else he's got here. Fight for equal pay. For most of this country history, marginalized groups were either not allowed to participate in certain jobs or their opportunities in these professions were limited. This legacy persists today, not only in the opportunities afforded to people, but also in the compensation people receive for performing the same work. Problems to be solved. Women receive less pay for the same work as men. The discrepancy in pay faced by Black, Hispanic, and Native American women is even more pronounced. So the goal is to promote equal pay for equal work. Alleviate racial discrepancies. He says, as president, I will pay all federal workers who are performing the same job the same salary. Work with states to implement salary disclosure laws. Refuse to hire outside contractors and companies that won't disclose salary information for their employees and who don't provide equal pay for all employees who are performing equivalent work. Pilot studies to see if different policies result in more equitable hiring and pay in the federal workforce. Some companies, they actually do post everybody's salary. They make it completely transparent, which I think is the way to go. I think that's what we need to move towards. Make it totally transparent. He's got an interesting gun laws. He actually wants to create, here's his gun safety. For many Americans, guns are a big part of their culture and identity. However, guns are a major responsibility, and thus we need to have common sense gun safety measures, especially considering that there are already approximately 300 million firearms in the United States. Responsible gun owners should continue to enjoy the right to bear arms, subject to licensing and education requirements that will encourage the public's safety. So he basically proposes having tiers. So you can own, a certain gun if you've received certain education and certain licensing. If you want to own a different type of gun, you need to go and do further education and further gun safety. Plus, you have to have safes and prove that you have these safes so that your guns are locked up. And, it's pretty interesting stuff. I have to say, looking over Andrew Yang's website, which I had never gone to until last night, really impressive. Really impressive. I'm going to give it to the guy. He's got a lot of really good ideas, and I mean a lot of them. His website, yang2020.com, is filled with ideas, and they're good ideas. So I would say definitely take a look at Yang, and don't be hesitant to join the Yang gang if you think that, oh no, it's filled with a bunch of white supremacists. Well, yeah, I don't think that's true. The guy has reached 65,000 individual donations. He's fundraising really, really well. He's going out. He's doing way more than anyone expected of him on the campaign trail and in fundraising. He is an underdog. He's one to watch. Definitely say go to his website, check it out. I would say donate to him to make sure he makes the debate stage, but he's already made it. So if you want to donate to him, then do so just because you want to see his campaign furthered. Whereas other candidates in the running, like Tulsi Gabbard, still need the donations in order to hit that debate stage. So definitely go. And, I want to see a really diverse debate stage. I don't want to see the same faces over and over again. I want to see these other people who seem to be underdogs on that stage. And I want to have a real, true discussion about what America really should be looking forward to. And I think Andrew Yang will be a valuable person on that stage. Okay, that is all I've got for you today. That was a big one. Lots going on during the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I do want to thank Graham Elwood for having me on his show. The link is down below where you can check out the interview that he did. He just asked me about how I got into progressive indie media, and I was able to share my story there. So that link is down below. And otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. Please be sure to subscribe, hit the bell. If you want to support this show on Patreon, you could do so, or PayPal. And I do appreciate all of you who do support the show. And even if you just watch the show, you are supporting the show. And I thank you for that. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.